I'll show you now why using a specialized compliance tool like Experta AI Copilot is much better for answering questions about ISO standards than some generic chatbots like Claude or ChatGPT, especially if you are a compliance professional. So in today's video, I'll show you what are some most common, let's say, use cases for asking questions about ISO standards. I'll also share the screen and show you how Experta works and what are basically the most important features when it comes to answering questions about ISO standards. And I'll also go through some commonly asked questions together with explanation of why this is better than ChatGPT and Claude and others. So let's start first with use cases. So what kind of questions you can ask? I mean, you can ask really various types of questions, but most typically people are asking about, the basics of the standard. This is especially useful if you want to learn about the standard. So what are the clauses in the standard, what each clause means, what are the sub clauses, explanation of some basic definitions, and so on. Second typical use case is when you implement a standard and then you start asking questions, okay, what are the steps in the implementation, how to implement this particular clause, how to implement that particular control, what kind of documents you need to write for any of these, what kind of records you need to create to actually be ready for the certification. And then you can ask also some more focused questions on how to prepare for the certification. So what kind of evidence the certification auditor will look for? What are the steps you have to perform before going for the certification audit? How to find the certification auditor? What kind of criteria to use when choosing a certification body, and so on. But also you can ask questions from the auditor point of view. So if you are doing the internal audit or maybe a certification audit, you can also use these kind of tools to actually ask questions. So let's say, what are the mandatory documents or records that you need to look for? What kind of records to ask for a particular control? What kind of questions to ask to the personnel of the company that you are auditing, and so on. Okay, so let's see now how this Experta AI Copilot, which is made by Advisora, can help you with these kind of questions. Okay, this is how this knowledge base looks like when you log into Experta, and basically you have three ways to ask questions. First one is to click through these suggested questions. As you will see, there are several suggested questions for each standard. The second one is to click these suggested questions based on your previous question. So as you can see here, the question was about ISMS scope, and then Experta suggests some similar questions here. And the third one is to simply type your question, whatever it is, here in this question field. So let's start here with these predefined questions, and let's say I want to learn about the basics of ISO 27001, and I'm particularly interested in, let's say, performance evaluation. And then when I click it, I will actually see that Experta responded with several sub-questions here. So whether I want to learn about the general about the clause, or about monitoring, measurement, analysis, or let's say about internal audit. So let's say that I want to learn about internal audit. I click tell me more. And then it explains actually what this internal audit means. And here you can actually see that this pinned Q&A actually appeared, so that I can keep drilling further into this without actually losing this from the screen. So for example, let's say that I want to learn about management review. Okay, here's the answer. And as you can see, this still remains here. So let's say that I want to learn about monitoring, management, analysis. Again, this is here. Okay, so let's try some other types of questions. So let's say that I want to learn about the implementation question. So how to implement, and again, I see all these clauses here. Let's say that I'm interested particularly in controls related to people, so Annex A6. So it lists all the controls from Annex 6, and then I want to learn how to implement, let's say, screening. And then I click tell me more. It gives me the answer. So basically what kind of technology I can use, what kind of organization processes, what kind of people are needed. Or let's say I'm interested here in A6.4 disciplinary process. Again, I click tell me more, and I'll get the answer. This time it's specifically made for disciplinary process. Okay, let's close this pin Q&A now. Let's see how these suggested questions here work. So as you can see, I asked a question about A.6.4, and it suggests a couple of related questions. So let's say how to show compliance with control A.6.4, basically how to show the evidence. Let's see what it answers. And basically it gives you a couple of suggestions on how to show evidence during the internal audit. Also another one, how to document Annex A control disciplinary process. And basically here you have suggestions on what kind of documents you can use. Okay, now let's go further and ask something completely unrelated to these questions that I started. So let's say, what is a statement of applicability? Let's see what it answers. Okay, and gives you exactly the overview of what this means. Or let's say that I want to ask a question like what are the implementation steps? Okay, and it will give me all the implementation steps. Of course, I can explore each of these steps further. Now let's say that I want to ask the same question for another standard, but as you can see here, you have this context tag which tells you that Experta will answer only about this particular standard. So let's say that I want to switch to ISO 14001. And let's type the same question now. What are the implementation steps? As you can see, this is the same question as I asked above here. So let's see what it answers now. Okay, now it answers actually the steps about ISO 14001. Why? Because I've changed this context tag here. So the system knows actually which answers to look for in Advisera's knowledge base. Okay, another useful feature here is that if you're not sure whether Experta gives you a correct answer, then you can click this link here, Expert Check. And basically what it does is that when you click it, this answer is then flagged within the system. And this means that Advisera's human expert will review the answer and let you know if this answer was right or not, and then of course send you the corrected answer if the Experta's answers was not correct. So when I click it, you will see this notification here, and this is how you notify Advisera that you want this expert to review. Okay, let's go now through some dilemmas and frequently asked questions. So first of all, how does this Experta knowledge base work? Now the key thing here is that Experta looks for these answers within Advisera's proprietary knowledge base. In other words, all the answers here that you've seen are not picked up on the internet, and they did not come up as something that the AI simply came up with. Rather, all these answers are based on questions and answers that Advisera's human experts have written down over the years and then aggregated into what we call Advisera's proprietary knowledge base. And then whenever you ask a question through Experta, then it primarily searches through this Advisera knowledge base and then presents you with the answer. And by the way, there are something like 40,000 questions and answers already in this knowledge base. And Experta shows you this source each time so that you know exactly where the answer came from. And if you ask a question which does not exist in Advisera's knowledge base, then Experta will search the internet for the answer. So let's try something like this. So what is ISO 12345? Let's see if something like this exists. So as you can see, the answer could not be found in Advisera's knowledge base, and then the web search is initiated, and basically this is what Experta found on the web. This is the explanation. And it also shows you exactly the source. So whenever you have an answer that came from the internet, then you also see exactly the source, so that you can, of course, click and open this source and check if this is something that you can trust. Okay, next question is why this knowledge base from Experta would be better from ChatGPT or Claude or any of these generic chatbots. Well, Experta is better because of this Advisera's proprietary knowledge base from which it actually draws all the answers from. Because when ChatGPT or Claude or any of these generic chatbots, whenever they actually search at the internet for an answer, or if they come with an answer from their own built-in knowledge base, they cannot actually distinguish between the right or wrong answer. Whereas all the answers in this Advisera's knowledge base are vetted by experts. And another feature that does not exist in these generic chatbots is this expert check. So there is nothing like this that you can actually verify if the answer is correct. And by the way, I recorded another video where I compared the quality of answers from these generic chatbots with Experta's answer. And you can find the link to this other video below in the description. Okay, the next question is which standards are covered in Experta's knowledge base? At the moment of recording this video, Experta covers these three standards. So ISO 9001, 14001 and 27001. And we are planning to add several other frameworks, including NIS2 directive for cybersecurity, ISO 42001 standard for AI governance, and so on. The next question is about the privacy and security of the data that you enter into Experta. So you can find actually all the information here in this transparency card. So if I click it, you will see several information about privacy, security, and AI usage. So here, related to privacy, it actually tells you that it actually remembers what you asked, and that all this information is stored on servers in Germany, and that only you can actually see these questions that you have asked Experta. And then it tells you how this is protected, so basically by secure authentication and so-called row-level security, and that all the data is actually encrypted at rest and in transit. And then it also explains you how AI is used for this particular screen. So what kind of prompts are here? What is the data source? As I mentioned, this is the proprietary knowledge base developed by Advisora. And then which kind of AI model is used? And most importantly, if the AI model is actually trained using the data that you entered. So of course the answer is no. So any kind of question, anything that you type in will never be used by these AI companies to actually build their AI models. In other words, there is no danger that actually through AI your questions will be visible to some other people. And finally, the question is, how much does this cost? And also, can you use Experta for free? So yes, you can use Experta for free. And let me actually show you how this works. So when you go here in this menu, you open Plans and Billing. And here you will see that there is this free plan. And basically it gives you the ability to ask 3 questions per day without any payment. And this limit actually is reset every day. So if you come back to Experta every day, it will provide you with 3 answers. If you want to ask more questions, then you can switch to these other plans. So this growth plan enables you to ask 250 questions per month without any daily limit, or this business plan enables you to ask much more, 750 questions per month, also no daily limit. Of course, there are also some other features which you can use for Experta, especially creating documents, but I'll explain these features in another video. You can also see the link in the description below. Okay, I hope this was helpful. And as you can see, Experta was made to be, I would say, a reliable source of knowledge for professionals who do compliance for a living. And let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about Experta, and I'll answer you as quick as I can. And to access this free account from Experta, click the link in the description below, and you'll be able to sign up for this free account and then start asking a certain number of questions per day for free. And if you want to use Experta, let's say, more heavily, then you can also subscribe once you sign up for the free account. And see also my next video, which will give you an overview of all the main features in Experta. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel not to miss any of my new videos, and I publish videos about AI governance and cybersecurity governance every week. Thanks for watching.